Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. And if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right. So today I have Michael Lores Jr. on the line, and he's a founder at Michelangelo's Sustainable Landscape and Design Group. Michael, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks for having me.
All right, Michael. So excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk a lot about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk a lot about Michaelangelo. So I'm excited to hear about what you're doing there and, why you founded your company. But just to get us kicked off, let's start with our signature question. So, Michael, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives. So that's our mission here. Michael, what mission matters to you?
Well, thanks for the question, Adam. At Michelangelo's, my focus is to help our clients enhance their living space outside. A lot of times people buy a new home and they don't have the place that they want their kids to play, or they don't have that outdoor entertainment space. We help our clients design and customize a space that's great for their families to enjoy year round. What we do as a company creates an opportunity for everyone that works for us. It creates a stable living for their families. And it's really important for me to see our company succeed because it helps so many others succeed. And that's really a big part of our mission as well.
Man, that's big time, Michael. It's a great mission, and love bringing mission-based entrepreneurs on the show. And I guess maybe just to get us kicked off, so how'd you get started on this entrepreneurial journey, if you will?
Well, my journey started when I was really young. At the age of 5, my dad put me to work for the first time. Instead of giving me an allowance, he gave me a job. And so when I first wanted to play t-ball, my dad asked me, well, what are the things that you're going to need to play? Well, I'm going to need a ball, or I'm going to need a glove. I'm going to need a bat. And then he asked me how I was going to pay for those things. So instead of having chores, he gave me jobs. So mowing the lawn, washing the car, taking out the trash, those were the first jobs that I had. And so at the age of 5, I started working for my dad back in 1990 for $5 an hour. And mowing the yard was really one of the things that I could do consistently every week. Mm-hmm. And so growing up, it was something I did all the time. Anytime I wanted to buy a toy or a new glove or go to the skating rink, mm-hmm. I went and mowed the lawn or did some jobs that my dad had around the house. So that taught me the ethic of having hard work as a foundation, as well as earning for what, something that I wanted instead of things being given to me. And so it made me value buying things for myself and earning the money. And mm-hmm. Also I valued the things I spent that money on because I worked really hard for it.
Man, that's so big time. And I think your dad and my dad must have exchanged notebooks or something, because true story. So my when I was growing up, until I was pretty old, I thought Labor Day was for labor. Like you get to stay home. No, true. I remember pouring like a driveway once on Labor Day, and it's like, no, Adam, my dad told me, they give you that day off of school so you can stay at home and work. It's
like to help your parents. And I
Yeah.
believed it, and I never knew for a long time.
Absolutely. No, they must have. And my friends growing up, they really hated coming over because my dad would put them to work too. Now, he would pay them, but, if they came over to, play for the first few hours, it would be work and then play. So it was like a fair trade there.
Oh, that's identical to my upbringing. My cousin, they'd have to everybody had their own paintbrush, and they're like, man, I don't want to go over there. I don't want to paint. I'm like, come on, guys. We finished the porch. It was like,
yeah, then we could go play. Oh, that's great.
Oh,
that's
man,
awesome.
great times.
Yeah.
So, obviously you're many years down the line in your entrepreneur journey, many businesses, many different things. And there's some people watching this right now that are maybe just getting started, and they're younger in their career. I mean, what kind of things would you tell them, based off of your experience now?
Well, I can tell you that the number one thing is to believe in yourself. If you're really passionate about something, or if you have this idea and you really think that idea is going to turn into something, you have this business that you want to start, believe in yourself. Because when I first started, this business, growing up, I had, other small lawn businesses. But when I really started, this company, I was still in high school, and my high school teachers, my counselors, and I was an A+ student.
Wow.
On a path to go to a high level college.
Yeah.
But I started this company, and everyone around me, my friends, everyone doubted me. The only people who didn't doubt me were my parents, and they were the ones there to support me. But even afterwards, starting it and leaving school, going to college early, I still had people doubt me. And so I can say that if you really want to do something, just believe in yourself, and don't listen to the haters.
Mm-hmm.
And, also don't listen to people who praise you too much too, because that can give you a false sense, that you're going to make it, or it's going to make you too soft, because really being an entrepreneur is really about the grind. I don't think there's a single entrepreneur, whether it's Elon Musk or Bill Gates or Tim Cook, any of those guys, that could say it was easy. It's not easy. And it's one of those things that, if you can grind through the beginning and you can get over the hump, then the payoff comes. And so for those young entrepreneurs or old entrepreneurs, anyone that's ready to take that shot, take that chance, believe in yourself, put your head down, grind through it, and come out on the other side of success. And that's really hard work and dedication is a huge part of being successful as an entrepreneur.
And so just to back up a bit, so you had a pretty successful business already when you were in high school, before you made the decision to go to college. Like, I'm guessing there was a lot of different conversations being had that time, even between you and your parents. I mean, you're like, well, hey, if I keep growing this thing, and if I go to college, I get my degree and I do all these things, I may not make more. I mean, do I need to get that piece of paper? Or do I not? I know there's some other benefits, by the way, to going to college, but I just mean, what was that like at that time period in your life? Because I think the overall, I think people are shifting their thought process on this in our current age.
Yeah, they are. And I'm shifting my own thought process with that too. As I'm now, this week welcoming my new daughter into the world.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, and I think of okay, what's the next 18 years going to be like? People are already, realizing, man, I go, $250,000 into debt for college, and I come out making $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
Is that really worth it? Does the payoff really happen? And so I think, in the future, what's another 18 years down the line going to be? And to be honest, it was kind of one of those things where I didn't really realize what was happening at the time. I really didn't. I really turned on the professional, company, so to speak, and went from mowing my neighbor's yards to, buying, big professional equipment and starting a corporation and everything. And then by about that summer came along, and I'm going into my senior year, and I realized I don't have time to go to school. I really didn't. And I went back to my counselor and I said, hey, look, I've done all my credits, but I don't have time to sit in your classroom for 40 hours a week. I can't do it. And, I have too many hours to put into the business. And so he said, okay, you can go, here's an opportunity to go to college at night and do a joint enrollment deal. And that's what I did. But I continued to go to school because my dad went to the Naval Academy and went to the Marine Corps. My mom went to Columbia University. They were huge on education. I wanted to go to UPenn and work on Wall Street. And so I just had this whole, my whole upbringing of either I was going to the Naval Academy, follow my father's footsteps, or I was going to go to a nice prestigious school and go and get that kind of prestigious job, so to speak, be a doctor or whatever. That was the path I was supposed to be on. And it was almost like growing up that there was no other option, right? That there was no other path. And I can tell you that I continued going to the 4-year schools at night while I was running my business, working 60 hours a week, Saturdays and Sundays. And I was, about to kill myself. Yeah. I mean, it was just one of those things where after a few years of that, pretty much getting into my sophomore, junior year, I was kind of like, what for? I'm already on my own. I've got my own business. Yeah. Well, what is my degree going to do for me? And so I actually stopped going to school for a while. And then another year or so later, I found where I ended up getting multiple degrees at, which was a local college, a technical college in the area that actually had an incredible horticulture program that was known nationwide, had a lot of connections with UGA, which is really big agricultural school here in Georgia. Mm-hmm. And, in that school, I learned all the things I needed to do to develop my company, learning turf management, plant identification, pesticide management, got my license through my pesticide class and all of that kind of stuff. And so it was going to that school, which enabled me to, continue to grow and develop my business from just a lawn, a kid mowing your neighbor's lawn kind of thing. And in reality, I realized that the majority of the kids in my high school probably should have gone to a 2-year school first. Yeah. It's a great stepping stone to get your foot into the door of education, to kind of figure out what you think you might want to do at a very low cost or no cost. In fact, state of Georgia pretty much will pay you to go to school as long as you keep a decent average. And so it's a way to get into a field and at that school, they had accounting, they had nursing, they had diesel mechanics or HVAC, whereas I did, horticulture. So, I looked back and I thought, my entire school, the whole perception of a 2-year school was looked down upon. Yeah. That if you went to a 2-year school, you were basically a loser, and you didn't get into Georgia or Georgia Tech or Auburn or one of the big schools. And it really couldn't be farther from the truth. And I think that most kids, instead of jumping into a 4-year school where they're going to spend $20,000 to $50,000 a year or more, they should go to a 2-year school first, get their feet wet into what. And you can also knock out your core classes at the same time. Sure. And then you can transfer over to a bigger school to kind of finish up. And I think it makes more economic sense. It also allows you to kind of figure out what you want to do. And to me, it's just a great opportunity. And I think education should be, in fact, I saw there was an article, and I think it was one of the states around here that they're going to try to tie in tech schools into high school. And so while the kids are, kind of high schools are a lot of repetitive stuff anyway. So why not go ahead and start on a career path? I think they used to do this kind of stuff. They called it shop and integrated, classes, stuff like that. And it's like, go ahead and start on that career path your junior, senior year. So you can really come out of high school, like working in a career and like work your way up. And I also found that the majority of my classmates were already in the industry they wanted to be in. They're already working, as a nurse or as a landscaper or as a technician. They're already working in the field. And so it really melded that whole education and field experience together. It really was just a wonderful experience for me. And like I said, just starting out, had you asked me when I was 17 or 18, would you ever end up at a 2-year school and proud of it? I would have told you no way. But that ended up being my path and my journey. And now I look at, doing a 4-year school is just and for me, a big waste of time because it is changing. And I mean, even larger companies, Apple and Tesla, have come out and said, you don't even need a degree to apply anymore. We're now looking past that. We're going to look at the person and their ability.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a changing world, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and I think a big part of all this is that it's just the cost too. It's like, I think when our parents like were in school and things like that, or like it was just different. Like there was an actual reason, there was an actual like cost benefit to it.
Yes.
And now, and I mean, there are for a lot of the traditional things, right? Like if you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be like all these things. If you know that's what you want to do, which to me, just throwing this out there, I think it's ridiculous for a 17-year-old to know what, or if they're planning to 16, I know what I want to do with my life. If we think about that decision that we have people make at that time to like go to college, choose a major. And if you look at a 16, 17-year-old today, right now, and you're like, what do you want to do with your life?
Yeah. I mean, most 30 and 40-year-olds sometimes still don't even know what they want to do with their life. Right?
I was going to say, are you kidding me? If you would have asked me, what do I want to do when I grow up? And I said, I want to be a podcaster. Podcasts weren't even around when I was graduating college. If they were, I didn't know what they were.
Yes.
So many of the jobs and the positions and the roles that, for example, what your daughter does may not even exist in 18 years. They're invented. It's still being invented. Everything's moving so fast. So I think it's hopeful and it's different. And I think that there's definitely been a change, as you mentioned. So let's go further on, in this entrepreneurial side of things for you. So, okay. So now you went to school and you really tooled up on your knowledge on how to take your, you picked a niche, which is a business you'd already been working in, ideally since you were 5, right? Since your dad put you to work. But realistically, now your business is growing. Now you're getting some of those extra things that are going to take you from just, again, mowing, your book of business, so to speak, their lawn, to really being a player in the industry and growing and kind of putting your stake in the ground. So what does that transition look like as you start to kind of grow, as you start to think about, okay, this is what I'm doing. Like I've been doing it for a long time. I'm committed. Now I'm studying it. Now I'm learning it. Like now it's time to really, I can envision doing this long term. Like what does that part of it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for the question. I think that, most entrepreneurs maybe even feel this too. There's this kind of roller coaster of emotions.
Oh yeah.
That I think you feel as an entrepreneur, whether it's, a startup and then, you reach a certain phase. And there was definitely a time, probably in my early 20s where I was kind of like, did I really make the right choice? My success was there, but it wasn't like amazing. I'd given up all those years not going to college that I would have not, all my friends and my classmates did. And it really was a question. I wasn't really enjoying it anymore. And so there really was a question of, was it all worth it? And going to school for it.
How old were you about this time, by the way?
Probably about 21, 22.
Amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah. I started when I was 17. So
it's an amazing, you had a 30-year-old crisis at 21. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. And so, but going back to school, actually, I loved school. I just loved knowledge and education. So like going back to school and just really getting the knowledge and education about what I was doing kind of reinvigorated myself where I really developed a passion for the industry. I developed a passion for horticulture. I developed a passion. So instead of following my passion starting out was I want to be an entrepreneur. So I know that I'm an entrepreneur and it doesn't matter really what business I'm in. I know that that's like the flame inside of me that burns. Then I did landscaping or I did mowing originally because I knew how to do it. I started when I was 5. It was like the easiest thing for me to do. And then I developed a passion for it as I learned the science behind it. And that's really what kind of kept me going was I now created a passion for the industry, for plants, the knowledge, learning about plants, just the intricacy of all that, just also just loving nature and just realizing how wonderful the world is, the environment that we live in and just nature and what God has created for us to play with. It's really just, it's just really an incredible thing. And so recognizing that reignited my passion, and then, really developing the business where, at a certain point in time, everyone that worked for me was older than me, if you can imagine, right? And then at some point, and for a while, a lot of them made more money than I did, right? Because as an early entrepreneur, you're sacrificing and you're giving up that immediate gain or that future potential. And so you're reinvesting back into your company, and, you're not taking the gains out, you're buying new equipment, you're buying new vehicles, you're hiring and you're marketing, and you're doing all that kind of stuff. And so then there was that tipping point where I was in the truck every day and I was doing all those things. And then it kind of hit that tipping point where I was able to remove myself from the day-to-day operations in the field. I was able to plant myself more into the sales and administration roles. And then as I continued to develop the company, I've really transitioned myself into solely really doing sales and then executing the CEO role. And I really, really, really enjoy that part of the business. It's really my favorite part. I love, as you might be able to tell, talking to people and, and just connecting with people and helping people. And my sales approach is very easy, no pressure. I just tell people, here's how I see it. Here's what I would do if I were you. This is the approach I would take, and just lay it out there. And I'll walk away from an opportunity because I'll say, look, this is what I would do. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. But I'm just going to leave you with that. And I just lay it all out there. And that's my approach. And I love being able to help people. I love, the befores and the afters and the clients really being wowed by the experience. And so for me now, the passion is, the sales side, which I enjoy, but really continuing to develop the company and grow the company, because I've seen the impact that we've had, not only on our clients' lives, but as I mentioned in the beginning, also the people who work for us. And we were just talking about degrees and stuff like that. I mean, I have guys that are potentially hitting towards 6-figure type jobs without any degrees.
Wow.
And this is an industry that can happen in. And being able to change people's lives, paying them more than they've ever had, giving them an opportunity to earn more or to advance, to help out families, to know that, every Thanksgiving we give away to all of our employees either a turkey or a ham for Thanksgiving. I know that that's feeding hundreds of people. And so just knowing that I just personally have such an impact on so many families, and I just want to continue to build that and continue to grow that. And then I enjoy what I'm doing. So it's really the best life you can live. You enjoy what you do every day, and you have an impact, and you have an impact. It's incredible.
Talk to me about the scaling side of things. So meaning, a lot of entrepreneurs watching this, so they may have a business that's going, and maybe, they're hitting that point. And I know we all learn from the ups and downs, by the way, we all make mistakes, but I think this particular business, I mean, we finally got it right, but I think the first 3 times we tried to scale it didn't work out well for us. And finally we got everything right. And now we're still not saying anything's ever perfect, but that being said, tell me a little bit more about some of those lessons learned during scaling.
For sure. I can tell you that I've basically lived through a couple major disruptions, now 3, if you include COVID in my business. The first was I originally had a partner for the first couple of years. And after about 3.5 years, he and I didn't see eye to eye, and we split. And that basically tore everything down and kind of repackaged it, rebuilt it from the ground up. Going from 1 employee again to about 10. And then 2008 happened. And in 2008, we all know what happened. And it really hit the fan. And so it just, everything basically collapsed again to almost nothing. I was basically down to myself, but I never gave up. There were definitely those moments, calling my parents at, 23, 24, never asking for help and having to ask again. And, it was just that moment of humility, and I can't do this alone. But, with their support and with my determination, sticking with it, I did think about giving up. I did think about not continuing. But getting through that winter, coming out in the spring, being able to tread water through 2009, and then things started to loosen back up. 2010, 11 started to really take off again. And so from 2009, we did $180,000 in revenue. And then in 2018, we did 3.2 million. So really was a huge point of growth where we're doubling almost every year for a few years, growing from 0 employees to 3 to 8 to 12, and now we're over 40 employees.
Wow! And
then COVID hit, right? And in COVID, I think the biggest, people always ask me, like, what was your biggest challenge during COVID? For me, it was managing fear. I could be totally in control of my emotions and my fear myself, but I also had to help guide 40 other people and their emotions and what they were feeling and what their families were feeling.
Yeah.
And, if you bought into the media hype and everything that was going on back then, people were like, why would we even come to work? We're going to die.
Yeah.
And that's how some of them were feeling. And it was about half that felt that way, and the other half that did not feel that way. And so, it was really mitigating and navigating through that. But I can tell you that COVID really did shed a lot of, it was almost like this, the snake skin, kind of shedding process.
Yeah.
It shed some people. It shed some clients. It just shed some things that I think needed to happen through that process. And now coming out on the back end, we have this resurgence. We have more work than we could ever deal with right now. COVID has really flipped the tables. Most people are now working from home. Their home is their office. Their office is their home. The kids are going to school at home. They're not even going to school. And so everyone's at home more. Now they're thinking to themselves, well, I better invest. I better invest in my home. I want to make it nicer. I want to make, they're doing renovations inside. They're doing renovations outside. That's where we come in. And so, there's this huge, push for that. Had I given up during COVID, or had I given up during 2008, I never would have experienced this. So, being determined and getting through those rough patches. As far as scaling, same thing, running into those big giant speed bumps, or in 2008, almost like a guillotine, cutting your head off. You really have to kind of take a step back and say, what can I do differently? In 2008, I was 100% residential business. Coming out of 2008, I decided I'm going to diversify, and I'm going to start catering towards and getting commercial clients. I wanted to have a mix of business. So in case my, residential clients were affected, maybe my commercial clients wouldn't be, my portfolio would be more balanced. And so we started to diversify our business. Also, as I was more educated at that point, back then, 2006, 7 is when I graduated. So coming out, then it was, okay, I want to shift focus on just maintenance. I'm also going to focus on design, build, and construction, installation. And so that really helped diversify. And then, really growing the company steadily, and, you reinvesting your resources, and then also being resourceful. What other things, can you go out there and find to help you grow your business? For me, we were outgrowing our business space, and we were renting a place, and we were at a point where we are outgrowing, and our landlord wanted us out. We were bursting at the seams, and we had too much traffic, too many trucks, too much equipment, and the landlord just didn't want us there. So we had to get out, and I was able to, go through the SBA to be able to get an SBA loan for a new construction building. And I went and found, land. I designed and built and constructed our own building. Now we have a home, a permanent home. And I was able to be resourceful enough to find the banks, find the programs. Come to find out, a bank will never give you a commercial real estate loan unless you've had one already. So how do you get your first? And often, isn't that the funniest thing? And it's like the chicken before the egg kind of thing. And then often the SBA or SBA loans are really kind of the entryway to do that. And so I would say, as far as scaling, you got to look at your risks. You got to look at, what's probability, likelihood of things to happen. One of the things that my team and I are looking at right now is what's the probability of another lockdown? Yeah. And that's something we can't control. So we have to, try to plan for that. And how can we mitigate that risk? What can we control, what we can't control? And how can we carefully scale while also being hedged, in an insurable way for the future.
Right.
And I think part of that's, take a look at your debt, take a look at what you can service, what can you cut back on? If things really got bad, how could you tread water for a little bit? Imagine if you were a restaurant or a travel company, during this time. I always think back and count my blessings. Like, that's one business right now I would not want to be in.
Yeah.
But there are those out there that survived. And so, how did they do it? And so you got to, I think about the growth, but also you have to consider what else can happen. And there was something that happened this year to the world this last year, and it's still ongoing, right? That none of us really planned for. So I think scaling is important. I think, as you mentioned, multiple times trying. I think we've really figured it out now. One of the other things I think is really key on that is getting the right people in place. It took a while for me to find the right players and the right pieces. I would also say you can't scale on your own.
No way.
The company only got so big with me trying to do everything. And I think probably a lot of people tend to have that problem of like, I have to do it myself. I have to, I'm the only person that can do it right. Those are really limiting beliefs that will not let you grow beyond yourself. And so once you can really let that go, teach other people to do it the right way or your way, or find the people that are educated or skilled enough that can do it their way that you can trust, and let that go. And then that will give you the ability to scale beyond yourself. Because if you just keep it to yourself, you're only able to grow so much. You're limiting yourself and your company.
No, that's well said, and lots of nuggets in there. I'll tell you, in terms of what you learned through scaling, what made sense, what didn't, and as you're talking about it, I'm like, man, these are themes that happen over and over with different business owners that are scaling and going through different transitions in their business. So one of the interesting things for me about business is that many times what you're going through has already been done. Yes. Like it's already happened. It's happened many times. Many other business owners have gone through it. So sometimes you can learn from programs just like this, so that maybe you don't have to make the same mistakes, or if they're not, if they're not avoidable, like then maybe you just have that, knowing somebody else went through it. But when you think about one of the big ones that you mentioned, which is diversifying your revenue streams, well, in your case, it was going to also add some commercial to that residential. That was a big loophole in your business that you wouldn't have known hadn't you gone through some of those troubles. But now that you went through them, you persevered, and that you kept on adding those little, those blocks to it, so to speak. You're that much more strong. You're that much more diversified, that much more stable, that much more able to withstand, what comes next, and to be able to kind of weather that storm and build something solid that will last for the long term, which is, in my opinion, one of the big reasons why I feel like an entrepreneur does what they do, is because they want to build something of value that lasts, that adds value to the community, the business community, and to all people that are involved, the clients, the suppliers, the families of the workers that are out there doing the job day in and day out. I mean, everybody benefits there. So I think it's great. I think it's a great mission that you have behind what you're doing. So Michael, I have to ask you, so what's next? So what's next for you? What's next for the company? What's next?
Well, as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm welcoming my daughter Amelia Rose into the world this week.
So exciting!
It's really exciting a time for my wife Christina and I. One of the things that was one of my core missions early on in life, starting a company, what the mission there was to have the ability in the future, when I did have a family, to be able to choose that, to spend time with them, to be able to have that freedom and that flexibility. And so I'm going to take advantage of what I've done over the last 18 years. We spend more time with my family and be there for them. And the other thing is I want to continue to grow the company. We've brought on a really good team of guys over the last year. As I mentioned, COVID shed a lot from us, and we also added a lot. And it was really a great opportunity. It was really a great time to kind of hit the reset button. It kind of created a veil to be able to do that. And so we've re-energized, we're reinvigorated. We've got a great group of guys at the top. And those guys really, to me, are kind of like an all-decade team. We've got the ability with these young guys to really take the company to another level. And, really over the next 10 years, the 2020s is going to be a really big time for the company. We want to continue to grow not only our revenue, but then our team of people. We're working on creating and reinforcing a positive culture of taking care of our employees, taking care of our families. We've done a number of those things already, and we just want that message to get out into the marketplace, into the workforce. Finding good people to work is one of the largest challenges that we have, that we face every single day, as well as our competitors and anyone else that's in this type of industry. And so we want to create the difference. What makes us different than the next employer? And it's treating people well, treating people as they're humans and not as numbers. And so continuing to grow this company to be able to affect more lives and more families, and giving our people an opportunity to grow as well, to advance in their career, to get more of an education like I did, to become, passionate about the industry. And whether or not they stay with the company, it doesn't really matter, as long as they can continue to grow and change and better themselves, whether they move on to other companies or another stepping stone or start their own company. I'm all for that. It doesn't matter to me. I just want to create that positive change. And I want them to look back and say, yeah, wow, my time at Michelangelo's, my time with Michael, that was special. That was something that, being close to him and being able to learn from him and take what I learned and being able to go off on my own, that was something that really made an impact on my life. And that's really what I want to continue to do. And as my wife and I are getting into more philanthropic things and other adventures, business adventures as well, it's just taking that spirit of, the entrepreneur, that spirit of, risk taking. That's the other thing we didn't really talk about. Taking risks is a huge part of being an entrepreneur, and you have to have the stomach for it. Not everyone's built that way, and that's okay. And if you're not built that way, that's okay. But being built that way, I think, is one of the core DNA modules of being an entrepreneur. Because if you can't handle the risk, you're going to have a lot of sleepless nights.
No, that's great. So Michael, final question, two-part question. So if somebody's watching this and they want to learn more about Michelangelo's, what's the best way for them to do it? Number one. Number two, what geographies do you work in, and what kind of specific work should they be following up about if they wanted to learn more about your design services and landscape?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're based in Atlanta, Georgia. We're in the northern suburbs out in Alpharetta. We service the North Metro area. So pretty much, Atlanta, Buckhead, North, Sandy Springs, Dunwoody, Roswell, Alpharetta, that whole general northern suburb area. The best place to find us on our website. Our website is landscapesandmore.com, and that's landscapes with an S. Our website's full of lots of information, before and after pictures. You can also get in touch with us there. We're all over social media. You can find me personally on LinkedIn. We've got our own Instagram page. We're on Facebook. So lots of fresh content there. We're posting there weekly and daily. And, you can really find a lot about us there and find more about our services. And then feel free to shoot me an email or give us a call, and we'll be happy to help you walk through our process and how we might be able to serve you.
Amazing. Well, Michael, again, thank you for coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and really all the great work that you're doing. I mean, again, another mission-based entrepreneur. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget, especially if you're a first-time listener, hit that subscribe button. We definitely want you to be a return viewer and a return listener. And Michael, thanks again for coming on the show. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Adam. It's really been fun. I really appreciate it.